Welcome to the Roy Anthony and
every
Friends
Tuesday
show.
and every Thursday. Y'all tap in.
Is this thing on? Can you hear me?
Roy
Is
Anthony
anybody out
show
there?
is the spot to be, baby.
Hey, tune in. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the homie Big Hank and Cynthia. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the co-host Big Hank and Cynthia. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. Everybody tune in, you dig it? It's funny as hell, my dude. It's when we can kick
every Tuesday.
Everything is going
every
down.
Thursday.
They about to do the most. It ain't a confrontation, it's a conversation, homie. Yo, on the weekends, the Roy Anthony
every
Show.
Tuesday.
It's during the week, homie. The Roy
every
Anthony
Thursday.
Show. What you listening to? The Roy Anthony Show. Come on and get a
Tap in
before we gotta
tap
go.
in.
What you listening to? The Roy Anthony
every
Show.
Tuesday.
Come on and kick it with us. The Roy Anthony
every
Show.
Thursday.
It's going down, homeboy. The Roy Anthony Show. Co-host
Tap in.
Big Hank. We getting it. What you think? Hey. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the homie Big Hank and Cynthia. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. It's the hottest show, homie, on the West Coast. The Roy Anthony Show. And it's featuring the co-host Big Hank and Cynthia Joy.
What it do? What it do? What it do? I am comedian Roy Anthony. Welcome to the Roy Anthony Show with my co-stars Big Hank, Henry Norman, aka Big Hank, along with my other co-star Cynthia Joy, inventor and creator of SNU, Strength in You. Welcome to once again to our show. They'll be popping in any second. It is April 25th, 2023. And this is the our last week of the sixth season. That's right. Around the middle of June, we'll be coming back with season 7. And that's been, to me, a milestone. 6 seasons. We try to do 12 to 13 weeks per season. And God's just been blessing. I'm blessed. I'm a blessed person. And with my co-stars, we fall up under the platform of the WO Entertainment platform, which was created to bring awareness to the veterans who are active and non-active veterans who commit suicide on a daily rate, and then our teenagers that commit suicide on a daily rate. So we pride ourselves on having a conversation, tackling different subjects that some people find inadequate to even speak upon. And we pride ourselves on able to discuss news topics, conversation topics. And the WO, which was created by Richie King, aka Redneck Pimp, that's his comedy stage name. But we're going to be hearing a lot more from Richie King because he's running as an president, independent presidency for the United States, and we're being serious. Along with the other creator was Goose. These sharp veterans and stuff, and really grateful for them. Then we have our associate producers, Blue Phoenix, Eighth and Daily. We have our sponsor, Matthew Brooks. We have our good neighbors that we got much love for. And I'm going to surprise them, especially the BV Nation. That's the backwoods veterans back in based out of Oregon. On Wednesday nights, please check out their show. It's called Hump Day Day Wednesdays. It's Hump Day Hangovers. That's what it's called. Hump Day Hangovers. Please check them out on Wednesday nights. You can go through Facebook or just Google them up. That's the Backwood Veterans, BB Nation. Then we have our other good neighbors, the VRS Veteran Radio Syndicate, based out of Ohio, and we had the Long Beach All Stars Veterans, based out of with general public. We always mixture. We're citizens, veterans and non-veterans. All Long Beach All Stars based out of Long Beach, California, along with the neighboring cities of Compton and Linwood. Then we had the WO Entertainment, which was based around the whole United States and other countries. We have the analytics to prove that, right? And so we have a lot of people, especially listen to us, that's based in Germany. A lot of our military bases around the world tends to get in line to our shows. And then we want to give a shout out to our own family members, our personal family members, friends, associates, and even those who don't like us. I want to take this time to give a special shout out to my mother. Got major love for her. If anybody don't know, is that my uncle, my uncle had Uncle Calvin Marcray, who just passed last Tuesday, and he was a veteran, a Vietnam veteran, and it looks like there's organs were malfunctioned from something called Agent Orange, based out of what was going on in the Vietnam War, and he succumbed to his he succumbed basically last Tuesday, and my mother, that was her only last brother, and I just want to give her a shout out that I love her very much, and that's the truth. Got a lot of respect for her. I had to tell her like this because if I was to tell her in her face, she'd be like, "Yeah, right." But love her very much. And then I want to give a shout out to Miss Ramonda Robinson. Um, she had her kitten that she loves very much, and anybody who's known that she had this her kitten Samson for years, and yesterday she had to put him to rest, and that's a hard thing to do. I've had a couple of pets that I had so much love for them, and they passed, and it really hurts. It's like you leaving loved one, a loved one, which is they are a loved one. So condolences to my mother and to Ramonda for their losses. And then I want to give a shout out to Dean. Dean always shows up on the show. He said, "Hey, Roy and crew, um, everyone else will be popping in," and I wanted to dive into it. I'm always hearing a lot from Republicans. I find myself neutral, and I just like to listen and read, and I listen to some people's speeches and politicians and everything. And one of the things that really was um, a trip, not a trip, but it was a saying called the mega, which would seem like a branch of Republicans. Now, me being an independent, I'm not a Democrat Republican. I'm about humanity and being fair. And when I said, well, let me see what's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Well, Democrats believed was based upon that God should not be part of law, that it is a socialism, socialism that you deal with on a personal side, where Republicans felt that God should be part of politics. Now, the way we see the Republicans acting nowadays, it's kind of hard to wonder what God are they talking about. And that's why I encourage Richie King running as an independent presidency, who wants to make a change like a lot of us and willing to take the step. He has the background for it. But when I see about Make America Great Again, I started looking at like only way we can do, and that's why the name of our subject today is, can America be great? Is it possible? Now, I feel that the only way that our country can be great is, for one, we have to be truthful to ourselves. A house divided will fall. If you ever read the word, there's a story where the Pharisees and Sadducees said Jesus was over the demons. He was Beelzebub and all this, right? And because he cast out a demon. And he said, a house divided will fall. In our country, especially minorities, especially blacks, we tend to forgive a lot because we believe in the Spirit of God. Not saying that others don't, not saying that, but it seemed like we're the most forgiving group of people who fought in every war in this country, fought in every war in this country. Yet, it seems like America looks out for others who don't, you know, like even for instance, nothing against Ukrainian people, but it seemed like we sure dished a lot of monies into their scenario situations. And then it seems like a slap to us blacks, browns, and even the poor whites. You know, giving monies out to other people and everything. So I said the only way, and this is going to be part one. We're going to end our season on the same subjects of making America great is, for one, to make anything right. You ever heard a saying say, addressing the elephant in the room? That's a cliche that they say, which is meaning addressing the problem. When families come together, you might have a situation going on. We got to address it. And how do we get by it? You don't sweep it under the rug, because the only thing you're going to do is it's going to eventually scatter back out. We have to address areas in this country. We can't say, oh, we can be even. Let's start off today being equal. It's kind of hard to do that because we're talking about 450 years. And I've heard some of I was reading some of these scenarios, and I see where some of my white neighbors say, well, all they got to do is tighten up the bootstraps and do better. But when it's a trip when you are doing better or trying to do better, and then there's someone who brings you back from you doing better to make the odds worse for you. Like we heard the countless stories of cities like in Tulsa, the Black Wall Street. We've seen these scenarios. I've actually read into it. The Devil's Punch Bowl, where it wasn't the Confederate Army, it was the Union who was um, helping escort 40,000 blacks from out the hands of slavery. Didn't have a plan, so they killed the men and let the women and children starve. And it's called the Devil's Playground. It's in a rural area. So then I look back and I see some of the same complaints and situations brought up that didn't just start in the 21st century. This has been going on since when my mother was even a baby, before she's born. But people weren't able to speak up. And then you have people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, uh, different ones who spoke up, the Black Panther Party. It's so funny how we got some of our citizens demanding and having their gun rights, but they sure don't seem to have blacks to have guns. And I don't understand that. A man supposed to be taking care of his family. Is it supposed to discriminate? If my white neighbor can take care of his family, then the black man can take care of his family, like the Latino can take care of his family, and the Asian. And so when we want to be fair, this is where we lead to being great. But if we try to be like a Ron DeSantis down there, or wherever DeSantis' first name is, down there, governor of Florida, where you want to evaporate the history of blacks, you're saying actually you want to take 400 years, slavery, Jim Crow, and to modern day, I add those all up, and you want to put it under the rug. And then we want to say, you know, before I was going into videos, I was waiting for one of my co-stars to come in. What's up with you, Miss Cynthia Joy? How you doing?
What's up, Sugarfoot? I'm over here trying to get a little self-care.
Hey, that's right. You're still in the house and stuff. I'm so glad to see that you're doing well. And so, matter of fact, let me tell y'all, not only is she doing well, I want to show this video. Let me show you how Cynthia
I hear this beat in my head. Watch me move my hips to it. To love. I'ma have you out of breath.
where she's not, she's full of joy regardless. But she don't be knowing what I'm gonna do. She like, boy, here you go.
Right, like what you got today?
For real. Hey, but we're on the subject of, I was talking about how can America be great? Hey, how you doing? Can America be great? And is it possible? And the only way we can be great is like I was just expressing, like that cliche of addressing the elephants in the room. We
But
cannot.
we got a
Go
bigger
ahead, what you say?
question. A bigger
go ahead.
question is, what makes America great?
Well, that's because the way I see it, we're not great. Oh, that's all right, Dean. Dean said, okay, sorry, I had to run to the store. Um, I don't, I never seen us being great. You can't be great. That's like a family having a household, and the family household is supposed to be all like the Bill Cosby like family household, but then we got a
Mm-hmm.
dark horse in the household. So we have to, you can't be great if we don't address scenarios.
Right.
Now,
Facts.
how can we be great if we have a group of people who fought, which I'm talking about blacks, I ain't talking about other minorities. I'm talking about the blacks who fought in every war in the United States of America, yet we are looked on as we're underneath uh,
Everybody else.
everybody else who comes over here and reap the benefits of America.
Mm-hmm.
They make us to seem like we're the most dangerous, most uncooperative, you know, and that gets to me sometimes because you have to understand, you know, but let me see, I know you're doing your thing. I read it out. America isn't great, but it's a hell of a lot better than the other countries, believe me. And I believe that. I believe that, Dane. My problem is that, like, one of my proposals, and I'm just a proposal since Richie King is running for presidency. I ain't trying to sound cruel or anything, but I think that we should shut our borders down for 1 year. And I ain't talking about to Latinos. I'm talking about to everybody who tries to cry asylum and all that stuff from Russia, all that. Let's shut our borders down and work with our American citizens that is present. We don't need to keep on bringing in others because, for one, you got somebody who's been with you at every war. We done seen these movies, the
Thank
Red
you.
Wings and stuff like that. We done fought in wars and stuff to be able to give it over to other foreigners who had the nerves to now say they don't like to be called illegal aliens. You know, when did you have rights to be called what you want in our country. If you over here and you didn't go through the proper procedures, now you guys tell me don't call you an illegal alien. Dean said, I don't see it that way. If you're good to me, I'm going to be good to you. I don't care what differences we have. And look, Dean, that's the way to look at things. But we have to counter some of the things of where the power. Now, if you've had the power, Dean, to be able to change certain things, we were, I'm gonna mute Cynthia's mic until she gets done. I muted your mic until she got done talking with her. She'll wave at me when she's ready to come back on. She's see her smiling, so she's entertaining somebody and stuff, right? So, when every individual, and I'm trying to get a point across, and my point is, I'm like Dean. I don't, and it's hard though. And Dean said I don't see it that way.
Okay.
My thing is this: as a black person, I'm raising my kids to be good humans, good citizens. And when my daughter was 7 years old, she comes to me. She said, "Daddy, were we slaves?" And I said, "What you mean?" She said, "We was learning history class that we were slaves." And it made her feel like, wow, because we live in the land of the free. You had the pursuit of happiness. But if you go and look at movies like Miss Cicely Tyson played her, what was the lady's name? I forget her name. She lived to be 109 years old. If anybody can help me with that story, Cicely Tyson played it. So not Harriet Tubman, but Harriet Tubman is another monarch that sets up here, created the Underground Railroad, fought in the wars. She actually helped in the wars, helped blacks get freedom. And it's then we say, okay, because let me tell you something. Let's start with this. Let's start with the slavery part. If you had anybody who worked for free, you're going to be very wealthy. There's people who's complaining about their job situations now that they feel like they're so underpaid, but they work all these hours. When someone is free, let me see if this
Dr.
is one.
Field says it would be an absolute disaster if you gave black people money for reparations. Dr. Field decided to opine on reparations. He's factually incorrect on a few things. Number one, Doc, you owe your entire damn career to a black woman named Oprah. You need to be careful here.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
First of all, are the legacies of slavery and Jim Crowism. We are still bearing the burdens and the scars. They were never corrected. That's one of the failings of our leadership in this country. They had the nerve, the audacity to let black folks suffer for 460 years. And at the end of the civil rights movement, rather than going back and saying, let's find out what has happened to black folk for 460 years. Have they been psychologically, emotionally, politically, educationally damaged? Nobody spent 1 minute of time trying to figure out what had happened to black folk over all that period of time. So in the course of the civil rights movement, at the end of it, they say, well, let's pretend that nothing has happened to them, that they were not injured, they were not hurt. And now let's go seek integration and pretend that we're all equal. Now that was grossly unfair, because by that point in time, in about the 1966 period, whites had become economic giants in America. They owned and controlled everything at that point in time. Black folk didn't own anything. Whites controlled almost 100% of all the wealth, the income, the privileges, the businesses, the resources, and all levels of government. And they allowed us then to use integration to walk from our communities, from our ghettos over in their communities, totally disarmed, not understanding anything, blind, naked, and then saying that you can go and compete. Compete with what?
See, Dean said we have slavery to this day. It's just not called slavery anymore. Today we call it debtor and the creditor. If you're in debt, you are a slave. Well, Dean, I'm gonna tell you on this one.
That's a different form.
That's a different form. It's a mindset. Because if you want to, you can change your name and all that. You can change your credit history. When you was
come out of credit.
You got changed. You're not going nowhere.
Facts.
We control what you eat. People wonder why blacks was eating chitlins. Well, when they gave you a pig that lasts you for 6 months, one pig, you're gonna eat everything on that pig.
That's only gave them the little scraps of it. That's where it come from.
Yeah, you don't have nothing wasted. But my grandmother named pig feet, pickled pig feet, pig ears, pig snouts, intestines. You're not throwing nothing away. Hog maws. We ain't throwing nothing. Nobody ain't trying to eat no.
Sad truth.
For real, we trying to survive. They control all the food.
Yeah, it's a different type of slavery right there.
Jim Crow laws, when the slave was over, now they telling you people couldn't look you in the face. What type of you gotta walk out the sidewalk. You gotta go in the back. Why? Why is this hatred? And when you grow hatred, because Martin Luther King, that's back in the 50s and the 60s. The doctor that came on afterwards is 21st. They still talking on the same scenario. I tell people, don't believe the hype. We make up 13.5% of this population, yet they show 2% of criminal activities through blacks throughout the U.S. to make us think that we're all like that.
And train us to hate ourselves.
Dean said,
Dean said what?
Dean said, my point is the bank doesn't care what's going on in your life. You better find a way to pay them. Yes, but let me tell you, man, who controls the banks?
Yeah, but see, that thing is for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Credit is for everybody, but the school system ain't. You know what I'm saying? It's like the school system is a form of slavery. Because inner city kids don't get the same books as suburban kids, and then they expect them to have the same knowledge. They can't have the same knowledge if they don't get the same books. Yeah. That's another form of slavery to keep them at where they want them.
Yeah, we have to address the white elephants in the room. I love that Dean has an open mind. He sees, and you know what? I am not knocking him at all.
I love Dean.
I love Dean. Let me tell you something, Dean. With respect, because the thing is that we're having a conversation, not a confrontation. It's a conversation. And one of the things is that we have to point. So many times I noticed that when blacks get in a certain position or something, all of a sudden it's, can we all get along? Well, we get along regardless. We're gonna get along regardless. Somebody asked me, you think this race is gonna be in heaven? That, who knows the mind of God? You gotta worry about if you're gonna get into heaven.
That
but
part.
My thing is that I got to address the situations. Dean just asked a question of, and who runs the inner cities? Man, crooked politicians.
You know
Let me
who
tell
brought
you
the inner
something.
city?
We don't just blame the whites. Let me tell you something. You think a white European walked into Africa and caught slaves? It was what we call sellouts today. It was
It
other
was,
blacks that caught blacks.
yep,
And we call them sellouts today.
because it was
They
all about
smile
that
in your
money.
face. They smile in your face because let me tell you something. The love of money does not discriminate. It's the root of all evil. And it can
Absolutely.
be black, white, Asian, Latino.
It does not discriminate.
It does not discriminate. Dean said Democrats. Man, let me tell you something. All those cats are foul. When our government fails us, this government is dividing us. It's
Because
dividing.
it's steady people leading people.
You know, I tell them now is okay, in the modern day, it's blacks, browns, and the poor whites. You got veterans who's come here, and we hear more about senators who ain't did nothing when I'd rather hear some of the heroic stories of some of our soldiers. The heroic stories of those who went through the wars here in these streets.
Yep.
In the pursuit of happiness. When we tried, I seen this the other day. I want to show this. Now we gotta address the white elephant in the room. Not saying that, I'm not trying to say white, they say white elephant. Not trying to say, I want my neighbors to be thinking he called
I
us
was going to say, I thought it was just the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Well, somebody said white, but I said, let me correct myself. Let's go and address the elephant in the room. I'm going back to history because since we're doing 2 days, we got to see, because this isn't something that just started in the 21st century. Check this out. I'm going to show
American laws are not the black man's laws.
Well, the laws here in America were made by white people for the benefit of white people. The Constitution was written by whites for the benefit of whites. It was never written for the benefit of blacks. And when you read the Constitution, I think in Article 1, Section 2, or Section 1, Article 1, one of the two, and it's in the Constitution, it says that it classifies black people as 3/5 of a man. 3/5 of a man, subhuman, less than a human being. It relegates us to the level of cattle, hogs, chickens, cows, a commodity that could be bought and sold at the will of the master. No, it was written by whites for the benefit of whites and to the detriment of blacks. And when a black man stands up talking about his constitutional rights, he's out of his mind.
Now that was what? Back in Cynthia, Cynthia, you're not stuck hard. That was back in what? The late 50s, early 60s? We're talking about basically 50 years ago, 50 some years ago. America, for us to be great, is we have to realize where disparity of wealth. If it's based about wealth, it's based about economics and said what Dean said, the bank got us all. Well, if I told people that there's some cities where I thought that Indian reservations was off hands to basic city and state scenarios. I thought the only regulations that they police themselves and that the banks can't sublease their land because it's federally, it's owned by the Native Americans, which they call Indian reservations. And if the Native Americans own this piece of land, I don't think that the city and the state have any jurisdiction in there, let alone banks subplotting the land and leasing it and selling it from banks. There's a city that I know, and I said I'm gonna bring that attention to that because of the fact that a lot of people cry that, oh, we're equal. It bothered me when Mr. George Floyd died and the Native Americans went after, in which I found out from Richie King was 1% of Native Americans that went after the football and baseball teams to change their name. Now, I noticed a scenario where other minorities leapfrog over blacks to benefit. I'm just being honest. You go into a black neighborhood, we don't own no grocery stores. The gas stations is ran by Eastern Indians. Not knocking nobody. But it's just funny to me how someone with a U.S. high school education can't manage a gas station, but the guys from Iraq and Iran and Tehran and the media always portraying it like, hey, but they the ones who runs our Shell stations and our 7-Elevens. Who runs the paperwork? Who allows this and all these scenarios to occur? He said, who runs the banks? It makes me be like, you know what? This is how Disney need to do. Like Disney World is going through it. Disney World is going through it with the Santas. He got a personal fight with them. And I'm thinking Disney should just, let one of the brothers rap for
This
you.
music is not meant to be rapped on, especially the rap you do. That's what make it gangster. Real gangster. When I run up on you with the strap, give up the purse, the wallet, the shoes, the keys, the watch. If you don't, I might have to hit you up with the K, the shotty, the hammer, the Drake, the Glock. We gon' hop up in the whip and we gon' slide up on these rats, these punks, these cats, the foes, the ops. On a run from 5-0, 12, the cops. If I find out you snitching, then you get popped.
Now, if I seen that, I would be saying, DeSantis, I could see why you arguing with Disney World, right? But when hatred is sown, I don't know why you think that love is going to come out of it. When I seen the people say, let's make America great again, and they're talking about it was based out coming from the 50s. Well, to my understanding, in the 50s, some blacks couldn't walk on sidewalks. They couldn't look white folks in the eye. I look every man in the eye when I talk to them. Yes, sir. No, I ain't doing none of that. But what the media don't let us know is that there was other people who was like-minded. Dean said, here's where I stand on this. I'm 45 years old. My ancestors weren't even here in this country until after World War I. I hate that slavery exists, but I had nothing to do with it. My parents both grew up in it. And look here, bro, a lot of us. Now, our generation, I wasn't a slave. My mother wasn't a slave. My grandfather was telling me, I found out his grandmother was a slave from Africa. I'm going to tell you something, Dean. And when they talk about the inner city, when you take off all the money, hip hop was started. We don't have no instruments. My white neighbors had, I had one of my schoolmates, his parents had every instrument in the world at their house. We didn't afford no instruments. You ever watched the Fat Albert show, Fat Albert cartoon? They was playing junkyard instruments. Only Rudy had a guitar. Everybody else was playing bed springs and strings on the drum. Dean said, the inner city, I was taught you teach the janitor with the same respect as the CEO. You treat everyone as an equal. Well, yes. And that's a good trace. Your family raised you well. My mother was like that too, Dean. Except there's some things I got to call it out. When somebody has a better hand, and not saying a better hand, but they know that they obtained it differently than what you and I are stating. Now we say, how did we right wrong? Well, it ain't for our citizens to say, hey, I'm gonna give up my bank. No, it's these institutions. And what they do is they teach us to not like each other while they constantly doing us behind with no Vaseline. Got us fighting against each other. I seen a quote by Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the president after President Nixon had been impeached. And he said it was amazing to him that if you take the poorest white person and make them feel, the poorest white person, make them feel like they better than the most educated black person, he said they will break themselves, give all their money out of their pocket because they want to feel that way. We're going through it now. We got people who rather discern hate. When I seen the insurrection that's going to Capitol, I was like, wow. What bugged me is when I seen nooses and stuff that was against your black neighbors. When I seen that, that's when I'm like, wait a minute. And so I'm like, I'm about, okay, we're going to be United States of America, then we got to come united. In my household, and I'm pretty sure some of my veterans know this, they have a saying, no man left behind. I've seen so many military guys where there's explosions everywhere. And one of their co-soldiers got hurt and they carrying them and trying to get them through. And the medics is really major. The medics will run out there to get to someone because they in the middle of this war and they trying to get you back. So Dean says, exactly, they keep us divided because they're scared to death that we can come together. Exactly. In Los Angeles.
But that's the problem. Can't nobody keep us
problem with each other.
Huh?
I'm a victim. In Los Angeles, blacks and browns seem to have a problem against each other.
When they all people of color.
We're all people of color. But the Latinos are going through something now themselves because some of the lighter skinned Latinos is looking down on the darker skinned Latino.
That's correct.
But in California, I was a victim of it, where the Latinos was trying to kill the blacks and the blacks was trying to kill the Latinos. I wasn't trying to kill nobody. I was on my way to the comedy show and I got shot with a sawed-off shotgun by Latinos. Some of my people was very upset and want to go and hurt Latinos. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is where it stops. It wasn't all Latino. I had some Latino family friends that was upset as well as the blacks.
Well, people got to remember, two wrongs don't make nothing right. That's been taught to us, but don't nobody live by it.
And they say, can we all be equal? The equal is them want to be like this. It's supposed to be equal. We all
there is no equal.
Learning each other's culture.
To me, there is no equality. There is acceptance. There is no equal. We just need to accept the differences that each other has. If we just accept the differences, we ain't got to worry about being equal. Just accept who people are.
It's just as simple as that. Point. Yes, Cynthia. And that's it. See, I accept Dean. I don't know Dean. Dean, when I see Dean, he got a big brotherly hug from me. Because I respect Dean. I don't know if Dean is white, black. Well, I know he's white, but if I hadn't known from right, I you know what I'm saying? It doesn't, because I got respect for him.
Because respect is earned. Because respect is earned, and Dean earned your respect by not being disrespectful. So that's how the game goes. Well, it should go, but it doesn't.
And exactly, and you know what? And the thing is, I'm addressing this, y'all, because This is our last season of the sixth season. Last week of the sixth season. We'll be starting season 7. I was laughing at Joe. We'll be starting season 7 in 3 to 4 weeks. But I don't, look, we know that Islamic guys don't really listen to, they believe in Allah. They don't listen to Christian music, right? Yeah. But when I can see where we can bring people from around the world to do stuff like this, Joe.
Whatever I'm doing wrong, and I got to get it right. All I got to do is have the Holy Ghost power. We need your power all over the world. We got trouble to the left, we got trouble to the right, but we got to have your power. Ooh, I need your power, and I need it right now. I got to have.
No, I like that they put that on there because they was like probably singing.
And the whole thing, though, if the music has a good message, it shouldn't matter where it comes from.
That's the point. That's it. Dean said, he said, y'all can come to the bonfire. Bring your own bottle, bring your own chair. That part. Just
I'm in that, Dean. I'm coming. You shouldn't have let it open.
For real.
I'm coming through, Dean. You better watch out.
I want to let people know Roy's following through with what you've been saying. I owed it to the BB Nation since last year, but I've been so much in the process of trying to buy this property and look out for my family and stuff as best as I can, And I bring these situations up because when my kids, I don't want them have to feel like I felt, and it's such a divided. Do you know when we go to other countries, we're not looked out as a black or white, whatever. They call us Americans. I have a cousin who works over in London and stuff, and he's black, and he said, man, they don't call me a black man or something like that. They say, oh, you're American.
That's it, because that's all it is. Pool will be open in a couple weeks. All right, Dean.
Yep. He said a couple weeks. Now, the thing is we have to be courageous to ourselves. Righteousness is when you're by yourself. A serial killer goes and kills people in the silence and stuff like that. He's not being righteous when he's by himself. We got to start with our homes. If you got disparity with any of your family members, your kids, your wife, your husband, mother-in-laws, aunt-in-laws, try to find a love part in it, because it starts at your home. Then it moves to your neighborhood, your city, your state. I see so many people talking about, I'm gonna change the world, and your backyard is just as filthy, your bed's unmade. And I'm not talking about literally, I'm using it as a metaphor. I've seen people going through trying to help people with their relationships, and they're in the middle of a divorce. If you don't quit, how in the world are you going to help me if you ain't helping yourself? Some of this stuff, I'm not a scary person, Cynthia. I'm not scary, but some things kind of spook me, right? Like this spooks me. Check this out. Demons, devils, they don't not scare me. I want people to understand is, if you planted any seed of hate, I was reading about the parents who was fighting about Ruby Bridges, and they have gotten older, and I can understand you shamed. You don't want their pictures to be shown and all that. The thing is to repent for it.
That's all you can do.
You got to do is repent. We forgive you.
We human, we make mistakes, and they was probably taught some things that they didn't know was wrong until they got old enough to understand it was wrong.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if If I was white, I might have been like, no, I don't want that nigger baby over at with our
For
kid.
real. You never know.
But
Because you was
George
raised a
Wallace,
certain way. You lived in a different time, and that was just the
George
mindset.
Wallace was very, he was very racist. He was the governor, Governor George Wallace. But when one of his constituents shot him, a reality came up. And then all them black people forgave him. He was in a wheelchair and they pushed him in there and they let him know. I don't hold no thing. The thing is, if you to repent is to acknowledge that something went bad and you was wrong and I'm sorry. But when you sweep it up under the rug and act like it's not there, now we got a
Makes
problem.
it worse. Yep.
You're making it worse. You're making it fester. You get a sore on you, and if you don't put no alcohol or some type of treatment on it,
It's gonna get infected.
It's gonna get infected. It could be a little cut, but if you don't treat it, you can cause your arm to get cut off or something because it can get infected.
Facts.
Well, guess what? United States, we're infected. Look at our lawyers. Look at these senators. The
Definitely
ones who's making
infected.
law. I seen this one thing. I'm gonna see if this is it. I want to show this.
You're in the well today because you broke rules of decorum. Wouldn't you agree?
Representative Pearson.
I believe I'm in the well today because you have put forward a resolution that says that it's more important to expel voices of dissent than do the work of justice, which is fighting to end gun violence in the state of Tennessee. I believe that I'm in the well today because I, with the courage of ancestors and family and loved ones and community, stood up and spoke up for folks like my classmate Larry Thorne, who can speak no more because of the proliferation of guns in Tennessee. I believe that I'm in the well today because you have decided that it is not right to have debate. It is not right to listen to the voices of the minority. I believe I'm in the well today because on the day that we wanted to honor the thousands of people who protested, we were denied that opportunity. I believe that I'm here because you feel in your heart that it is right to persecute someone who has committed no crime, who has only broken what you call the House Decorum Rule, which according to Section 19 of the House Permanent Rules of Order say that at worst the thing that should happen is censure. But instead you have brought forward a terrible resolution to deprive and disenfranchise thousands of people in Shelby County of a representative who will and can speak and advocate for them. And I believe, Representative Farmer, that is wrong.
This was one of the two black senators who got suspended for speaking up about the gun violence, and they pulled out bullhorns to get heard because it seems like the Congress wants to only listen to people like Senator Marjorie Greene and Babbitt and people who's talking just mess. Like my pastor said, a wise man has something to say. A foolish man just want to say something. Trying to go for off the plights of people and stuff. And Dean said, here's the thing with disturbing history. Those people, go ahead.
Here's the thing with disturbing history. Those pictures and stories need to be seen and learned about. My history teacher said, you're disturbed about these pictures of history. Good. It means you won't forget it and you won't repeat it. That's
the point.
That is the fact. You gotta be able to call a thing so you don't repeat the same thing. That is the definition of insanity.
Insanity, if you do the same things over and over and thinking of different results. He hit it on the nail. We won't forget it.
Dean, that's why we love you, boo, because you know what's up.
See, people say, well, why you constantly bring it up? Some people
go back. I ain't see it. What it say?
Yeah, my bad.
This is the state legislator. MGT is federal legislator.
See, my thing is, he hit it right on the nail. I ain't telling nobody to break themselves and give to me, because God let me know through his word, through the King David said, I was young and now I'm old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken or the seed begging for bread. But you reap what you sow.
Facts.
If you sow hatred, then
That's
guess
what you're
what you're
gonna
going to
get.
reap. Stop trying to get roses or lilies and you planted thorns. Then got the nerve to put God's hand in there.
They be like, why you poking me? Why you doing that?
Yeah. Paul said he was against the people. He used to kill them, and Paul had an awakening on the road to Damascus. I said to him, you kick against the prick. You hurt it yourself. You got to be a selfish individual that you rather be happy and everybody around you is miserable. That's not the type of party I like. I like to go to a function where me,
everybody
Cynthia,
wins.
Big Hank, Dean Cerny, Richard King, Goose, we kicking it. We jamming to different music, having some drinks, like he said, eating and stuff like that.
I'm ready.
But you got those who don't want you in their presence because in their mindset, they just as equal with God.
It's just, I realize it's just some sick individuals out here, and some things we can't do nothing about. But people like us will be the start of a revolution, of us changing things. Instead of us just talking about it, we're going to act on it. And we're going to go visit our white brothers and sisters, and we're going to hang out and have a kumbaya party and have us a soul train line, and we're going to turn up together, and it's just going to be what it is.
Yep. And we're not done yet, because Thursday I'm going to talk more about even at the policing. You taking your authorities. You wasn't taught. Like I got a video I'm gonna show it Thursday where the trooper done stopped. They racial profiled this black lady to find out that she is the state attorney general. And he was like, "Oh, I just seen your tags and I didn't know." She said, "What you running my tags for?"
Right.
And then he said, "Oh well, he knew he messed up." You feel me? And some people, it's coming out of them a little bit. It's even coming out. I will show you this one. Let me see if this is.
Old school, you want to run?
Nope.
Here's my business card. In Westerville, Ohio, that is lawyer Emmanuel Oluwale. On his own law office property, he is dumping out trash.
That I want to do, and I'm trying to, but it's a trip because the guy messed up.
You're in the well today.
We haven't done anything. We're a totally peaceful racist group.
Hey, did you hear him? He said I knew messed up. And I tell people some of this stuff is just lies. But you know what? We're gonna get back on it on Thursday, and we're gonna talk about, especially with our policing. I wish that we can do our policing like this, Cynthia Joy. I wish we could do it.
Out your window.
What? Keep on knocking, but you can't come in. What?
Your license. Where's your license?
It's on the bumper, man, back there, man.
No, I mean your driver's license.
Oh yeah. That just sounded so real funny, man. Hey, your mama. I'm blind! Oh shit, I'm blind, man! Hey, blind man. I can see clearly now.
That's the type of I want us to be the police. Hey, look here, y'all. I'm Roy Anthony. It's Cynthia Joy, Big Hank. I had a scenario come in. Once again, I want to give a shout out to my mother. My condolences. Love her very much. To Miss Ramonda Robinson, who she had to put her kitten down yesterday.
I'm sorry.
She had him for years, and he was suffering. But let me tell you something. I love my country. And I defend it because my family members and friends are here in this country. I don't even like to be called an African American because I don't know nothing about Africa. I'm an American. And the only way we can become great is that we have to repent. We have to repent. Thanks, Dean said. Good show, y'all. We have to repent. If y'all was to look at it like Dean's parents seen that stuff and raised their son to be like, hey, when I hear the speeches that all men are created equal, I take it to heart. When I messed up as a teenager and got in trouble, I didn't blame the society because my mother raised me better than that. My grandparents raised me better than that. I blamed myself. So I repented. And then I try to show love to each person who does me. Am I going to address something? Yes, I don't mind addressing the elephant in the room, whether it's a black elephant, white elephant, Asian elephant, Latino elephant. For us,
elephant is an elephant. They all big as hell.
They big as hell. And when we can address it and be able to, like a George Wallace, how he came to forgive. I mean, even blacks, some blacks have done it to the family members and stuff like that. We got to forgive. You cannot get in no heaven. And if you don't believe in no God, then you shouldn't be in no politics, because in this nation is in God we trust. That's where it's supposed to be. And if you don't believe that there's an afterlife, you're fooling yourself. In my point in time, I'm going to try my hardest to keep trying to do what I'm doing and get better. And if I've done anything wrong, anybody forgive me, because I forgive everybody. I forgive its history, but we got to know it. You got to know it to forgive it. You can't throw it under the rug without address it. You know who you was. And we're going to get on that. We're going to get back on this more. Look what Dean said. In God we trust, all others pay cash. But we're going to get back on this. This is our last week of season 6. We'll be off for about 3 to 4 weeks, talk with the team. But I beseech, I beg that we try to forgive. Don't try to act like we don't belong. I'm not saying other minorities. I'm not against other minorities. I'm just saying is stop being disrespectful also, because sometimes you leapfrog over blacks to take over the benefits that we fought for. Not saying you shouldn't, because everybody's supposed to have the pursuit of happiness. But don't look down on no one. We'll see y'all Thursday, which will be April 27, 2023. God's will. God bless everyone. Roy's out.
Welcome to the Roy Anthony and Friends Show. Tuesday and every Thursday. Y'all tap in. Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Roy Anthony Show is the spot to be, baby. Hey.